Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the ex-Jehovah's Witness. I am Mitch, aka ex-JW, online. I have another great episode today. If you remember, the last interview I did was with Jerron. So then someone reached out to me on Facebook, and then Jerron sent me a text message and said, "Hey, I have a friend. I want you to talk to him. I think you're gonna like him, and I think it's gonna be another real interview like you had with me." And so I am happy to have Phoenix with us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for having me here. It's
Yeah.
a pleasure to meet you in person. All right,
I'm
to
most
the
welcome.
video chat.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad we could work out our schedules. Uh, and so, yeah, what we do is I get preliminary kind of uh, your beginnings and backgrounds to kind of take the audience there, and then we'll just build on what happened, what led to where we are now. So, if you don't mind, like, were you born into the Jehovah's Witness religion, or what?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born into it. My parents came in as adults. So basically, that is all I knew up until the moment that I chose to leave. So that's been my entire life since I can remember. So
Okay, very very similar to me. What,
yes.
as a child, what did you think about it?
So that's a very, very good question. So I want to say that there was definitely a lot of conflict growing up because, of course, when you're in school, you want to participate on birthday parties and Christmas, and I'm Puerto Rican, so and where I'm from is all of those things are celebrated. I think in a very interesting way. I still kind of think back on our culture and stuff like that, and yeah. So I mean, I always wanted to be a part of that. I will admit, of course, when you're different from everybody else, there's a lot of bullying going around. There's a lot of shaming going around from people. Um, but it's I think because I was born into it. My mindset was, well, this is who I am. This is my identity, and in so many ways, I didn't really have much of a choice, but to be raised in that environment. So, but like always, I think there's always going to be that conflict between what you see and you compare yourself to other people and who you meet in school and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's just about it in a nutshell. Growing up.
Yeah, and when I was laughing when you you said Puerto Rican. I wasn't laughing at that. I was laughing because it took me back. And I haven't shared this with anyone, but when I was 21, I turned 21 in Houston, and it was a Puerto Rican family that brought in my 21st birthday. So much alcohol, but it was fun.
Yeah,
Cute.
yeah,
Add to that, it was a bunch of alcohol. I'm 21. I was a witness, so I didn't drink that much. Plus, I
right,
had a water bed. So do the math. It was
right.
it was a very long night. So, and they're looking at me like, "What's wrong with you?" But so yeah, I can relate to wanting, like, this is how I explain it. Especially when you're born into the truth, you have two sides. I felt like I had two sides of my brain. The side of the truth that, for the most part, I liked and I accepted even when I was young. But then I had the other side that was just me, who I am, and who I wanted to be. Like, did you feel that way?
Oh, for sure, 100%. I mean, and I don't think that it was as a parent in elementary school, but it was definitely there when I started getting into high school
Oh
because you start going into now you're looking into dating, You're looking into all of those things that you kind of like you growing into yourself. And yeah, there's always that pull.
Well,
Um, and yeah, 100%. I mean, I came in when I was came here to the U.S. mainland United States when I was 14 years old.
okay.
So I grew up in Philadelphia, so I kind of developed a little bit of that. I'm Puerto Rican, but at the same time, kind of developing that Philly side of me. And so like I just it's interesting mix there.
Oh,
The grit and grind from Philly, and then uh, the Puerto Rican culture, which is very interesting mix.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was very tough. It
Mhm.
was very tough. Philly is a very huge sports town. I'd be lying to you didn't if I told you I wasn't interested in being a part of the sports teams or being part of just to watch them and support my school and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So all of that, even those like little things that are really nothing, Jehovah's Witness is wrong with them, but it's a challenge. It's a
Oh,
challenge
yeah.
to be facing that for sure.
You read my mind. I was going to ask you about sports because I saw, like, I'm nosy when I friend someone on Facebook. I have to look at pictures so I can get a feel for who you are.
Right.
And I saw the gym picture, so I was like, oh, I got to ask Phoenix if he if he was interested in sports.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I love sports.
Yeah.
Who knows, how things would have turned out if I would have, if I hadn't been raised in this, where my life would have taken me. I don't know. But I have a lot of energy, and I'm kind of person that I wake up 4 in the morning. I like to just go into the gym, and that's just how I feel. It's a good start to my day. So that's just me.
Yeah.
So
And again, that's what I'm getting at, just part of who we are and things we wanted
right,
to do. And so yeah, like when you're a teenager, those are tough years. I tell everybody you were raised in this religion, but then especially in the teenage years, like you said, the you want to date, you want to feel normal, you want to look normal, you want to play sports. Did you have, as far as doctrine goes, when you were a teenager, did you have any doubts or any part of you like, I don't know if I believe all of this?
that's a that's a that's a very 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 good question. Um, I want to say that I think, especially at that age when I was a teenager, birthdays, I just couldn't wrap my head around it. I mean, because in essence, it boils down to, I think it's Genesis 40:20, and then there's another scripture I believe in Luke
Mm.
talks about these two random, not random, but these two people in the Bible who were not Israelites or Christian, and they were not celebrating birthdays. So I think as a kid, there's always that part of you is like, what's that got to do with me? Like, why
Yeah,
was like because they couldn't, they were the ones that would celebrate it. And I mean, it's just no clear mandate in the Bible to say to
mhm,
tell you don't celebrate birthdays. So I
yeah,
think things like those, it was very awkward to defend them in class, to be like, hey, well, I just Genesis 40:20, man. Like, um, this person celebrated a birthday and he was not an Israelite. And it's like, it doesn't make any sense. It really, really doesn't.
no,
But you got to do it because, if you don't do it, then, uh, you'll be in trouble with your family. So, uh, little things like those, you know, another one was the whole flag situation. I remember one of my earliest memories when I was in school. I might have been fourth or fifth grade, um, in Puerto Rico still,
mm,
and I was there. We were celebrating. I think I was in honor roll that year, and we had a celebration. And one of the parents, because I'm from a very small town, so all the kids know each other, all the families know each other, and stuff like that. And one of my classmates' fathers, they were looking at me, and I didn't have my hand on my chest, and he just kept doing the sign like you got to put your hand on your chest. And I was a kid, so it's like I'm like in the middle of a celebration, just trying to how can I do this without not doing this, and like I'm trying to find a way. And as a kid, that's frankly is a lot to ask a kid
Oh yeah.
to not do that, especially when people are, hey, this is, it's part of the culture, part of the community, and you want to be a part of all that. And
Yeah.
I think that's kind of starts separating you from the rest of the world and stuff. So
Oh yeah. Yeah. Great points. And so you're feeling all this. How are you progressing in the religion? Like as an upper age teen and someone in the early 20s, how are you progressing in the religion?
yeah, so I want to say that I think back then it was the number four talk. Actually, let's go a little bit further back. At the age of 9 is when I became an unbaptized publisher. And I mean, growing up, I was always a very curious kid. So, I remember at probably 8 or 9 years old, we were doing the book study. And back then, I think it was done on Tuesdays, if I'm not mistaken. And the book study was all by itself. And I remember that I had my book and I was sitting on one of the front rows. And, because I'm in school and everything, so it kind of reminded me of school. And I remember the conductor was like asking questions, and I'm like reading the book study. I forget what book we were studying at the time, and I'm like looking, behind me, and I'm like, this is like taking candy from a baby. Like it says it right here in the paragraph.
Yeah.
So I would like raise my hand as a kid, like I know the answer, teacher, and it was so interesting because I don't think it was because the adults didn't know the answer, but for some reason they just weren't participating.
Yeah.
And so me being the kid, like just being curious and stuff like that, I'm like, all right, like nobody want to answer it, so like I got it. So I think after that there was an elder in the congregation that noticed that he was the conductor, and he's like, hey, why don't you become an unbaptized publisher? Hey, why don't you like get into the school? And I'm like, sure, like why not? So I did both. I think I did my first reading around that age, 9 years old or so. And then as I did more readings at the age of probably about 13, 14 years old, I did the 5 minute talk, which back then I think it was considered the number four talk, and then it changed to the number three talk. But yeah, I mean, I was doing that pretty early. I don't know if you want me to continue until when I became a ministerial servant.
Oh, yeah. Well, before that, though, what age were you when you got baptized?
So I got baptized shortly after I came to the United States at the age of 15.
Okay. Did you feel you were ready?
So, funny story about this. So, when I would tell, so when people would ask me, I was already well developed into my 20s. People would ask me, what led to you getting baptized? And I remember that the reason that I did it was because I never really saw myself leaving the witnesses. So in my mind, it was just an obvious step because I never really saw myself leaving. But now, as an adult, that I look back on it, how could I have known what I would have wanted if I was only 15 years old? And that is the only thing that I'd ever known my entire life. How could I have been ready to make a lifelong decision at that time? I don't think I don't think people understand the ramifications of getting baptized. They tell you just a little bit, of how much of a commitment that is,
Mm-hmm.
and how much it puts you in chains. It puts you in chains. It just does. You know, they can call it whatever they want to call it. They can call it, well, the little girl, she was in I forget the guy's name, but she was an Israelite, and she was helping this guy. She was a slave girl, and she was preaching to him. And thinking, well, she was very young. That's kind of like part of the argument. And I believe the guy was Naaman, if I'm not mistaken,
Mm-hmm.
in English. But yeah, that's part of the argument that they use,
Yeah.
and that's not a very good argument because you're talking about a girl that was very young. She had her faith, and honestly, I respect people having their faith. But when you become a witness, it's not just faith; it is a
Yeah.
contract of conduct that you have to meet the very, very high standards of what they expect you to do. And then there is a long list of things that are of do's and don'ts and all of that stuff. And I don't think it's kind of like, when you're signing a contract online, the terms and agreements at the very bottom, and everybody just checks off that box, but they don't really realize that there's a long list of things that you got to meet in order to, for that contract.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you're very young, you're born in, that's all you know.
Yeah.
And do you accept the terms and conditions? Oh yeah, I accept the terms and conditions. uh, but there's a lot more involved. So
Oh, yeah.
I know that's a long answer, but in short, no,
That was
I was
perfect.
afraid.
That was perfect because you mentioned something. So I met my wife, this wife, the second time I was this fellowship.
Okay.
She learned the truth because I told her, like, this is where I'm at now. Eventually, I will go back to this religion. She actually learned the truth and studied. The interesting thing is, and we don't argue about it, but we recognize different perspectives. And you mentioned it. I try to explain to her when you're born into it, it's just something that's expected of you.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned something else. It's the natural progression of things.
Hmm.
And so when you're born in it, you mentioned all of it. You become an unbaptized publisher. You join the theocratic ministry school.
Hmm.
Eventually, you're going to have to get baptized because what do they always tell us? They say once you learn the Bible and the truth, you're obligated to it.
Right.
And so it was just something, like you said, it's like I like doing the things I'm doing in the Kingdom Hall. If I want to continue and get even more privileges, like eventually I'm gonna have to get baptized. I was
Hmm.
16 when I got baptized, and it's like it's different from how I view it. She views it as a person that came in as an adult, and she's like,
Hmm.
I don't think a teenager is ready to make that commitment because, like you're saying, it's like a contract, this code of ethics that you sign up for. And I just think it's nice to talk to someone who was born and raised in it, like myself, because I try to give every different aspect of that religion so people that listen to me can say, oh, I can relate to that. So,
Yeah.
like, for those of us, it's those I talk to them daily, those that are still in the religion and they can't get out for whatever reason. Like, a lot of them were born in it. And
Yeah.
that obligation crap weighs huge.
Yeah. I mean,
You know?
and we'll, I go a little bit in detail later as I tell the rest of the story. But I mean, once I compare it to like a prison, because they've built a prison to where um, once I realized that this wasn't for me, I feel for it was one of the scariest things that I've ever had to do because I realized that they had already won the game before I even know the rules of the game.
Oh yeah,
The game was already decided,
yeah,
and there's like, and we get into that a little bit later, but yeah, I mean, it was just like they literally shut down every door, and when you're trying to look where to go, everything is shut. all the doors are shut or the windows are closed, and you're locked in there, and
Yeah.
they make you pay a very hefty price
Mm-hmm.
to leave.
Oh,
So
yeah. And yeah, that's another sign of a cult. Hard to
yeah,
leave. Yeah.
oh yeah.
And so, okay, so then, like you were about to say, when did you're progressing, doing good. You still have things that you fight that are, who
Right.
Phoenix is, but you're still progressing. And so, when did you become a servant?
Yeah. So at the age of 19 is when I became a ministerial servant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was very young. I was a very very dedicated person. Um, Not only did I grow up to believe that at the time that I thought was the truth. That's all I knew. Um, but I'm a very dedicated person. I take a lot of pride in my work.
Mm,
And To me, there's no shortcuts. This is what I want to do. This is what I like. Then I'm gonna commit 100% to that.
mm,
And if you would ask people that would have known me back then, I was a very very serious guy.
yeah.
I took it extremely extremely serious, and I think in a way it did help me grow within that environment. But at the same time, I felt like a lot of the necessary tools in life didn't really develop properly,
Mm,
because I was a worker bee.
yeah.
I was a hired assassin, to call it that, because I was the go-to servant for the elders since I was very young. And I can progress a little bit, talk a little bit more about me as a servant. So I gave my first public talk at 21.
Mm,
I started going outside to other congregations at 23
wow.
as a servant. So I was extremely dedicated
Yes.
to all of that. I think I don't. Yeah, I think by the time that I became an elder, I might have already had like four outlines for a public talk, because like I was like
Mm,
going pretty quickly, and I was very very young still
yeah.
when I
Uh,
eventually reached the point of becoming an elder. And yeah, but I mean, it was all because I took it to heart. I really believed that what I was doing at the time, I was doing the right thing. So
oh, yeah. That
yeah,
so that's why I like the more you talk, Jerron was like, "You're really, really gonna like him. You're gonna relate to him." And now I'm seeing why. But yeah, I was like at a young, I told you I got baptized at 16, but like at 18, I'm the assistant literature servant. I'm over the AV department, and like you said, I just when they gave me an assignment, I took it seriously.
yeah,
And in that organization, the more you do that, the more you're gonna become that worker bee.
for sure,
I would
for
call
sure,
me. I'm
for
laughing because
sure.
you said the assassin. I would
Yeah,
myself and other elders had a joke, like inside joke. They would call me the enforcer. So I always made everybody. I made sure everybody was at that post. They was around the kingdom
I am.
post. So
Yep,
they called me the
I remember
enforcer.
all that. Yeah, I looked like when I was very very young still. I've been a servant for a couple of years. I kid you not, I was the first one at the hall and the last one to leave
Yeah,
at the age of 22 or so.
yeah,
So I was very heavily utilized because, like you say,
mm,
you become a worker bee. You become the person that they kind of, threw everything on you. And if you're the kind of person that you take a lot of pride in your work and you cannot say no
yeah.
because you feel like, hey, this is what I got to do, um, then yeah, they're gonna target you. They're
Okay,
gonna target you for sure.
yeah. And so as a ministerial servant, you're young. You're a ministerial servant. Was there anything about teachings or doctrines or procedures that kind of was a red flag to you as a ministerial servant?
Yes. So I'm so glad you asked that question because it's gonna be important later on down the line.
Okay.
So that I believe is when the cracks started to form. Um, and I can dive a little bit deeper if you want me to with these stories. But in a nutshell, I started seeing a lot of injustice with the entire judicial system. And as you know, a lot of the young ones now I think the numbers now that I'm out, I believe it's 2 out of the 3 born-ins are out by the age of 25 or something like that. There's a number out there, and yeah, I was seeing that. I was seeing a lot of the young ones, um, be disfellowshipped. What it was called at the time, now it is removed. But I was seeing a lot of that happening around me, and I can dive a little bit deeper into that, but
Yeah.
I started seeing there was a lot of issues within myself with the way things are handled, and I just was not necessarily seeing Holy Spirit per se. I was more seeing a lot of favoritism, and I was seeing a lot of just guys making decisions to whatever whims they come to. And do you want me to dive a little deeper in there?
Yeah. Because people
Yeah,
need to know that these are the things we see.
right. So I can give you 2 examples. So I had 2 very good friends of mine, and talking about best friends, talking about very very close to them. The first case was um, this friend of mine. He had a girlfriend. Something happens between the two.
Hmm.
Um, he gets he gets reproved at the time, so there's no disfellowshipping yet.
Hmm.
But apparently, someone else makes an accusation about him, and he ends up months later getting disfellowshipped. Now, years down the line, me and him have a conversation, and he tells me, "Hey, um, that thing that I was accused of, that second time, that was a false accusation." And to this day, he is still in. He stands by what he says.
Hmm.
Um, and I just could not wrap my head around the fact that somebody could just make an accusation, a false accusation, and they just, kick you out. You're disfellowship, or uh, you lose contact with all your friends and all your family and stuff like that. And I'm the kind of person that I always try to think ahead of what someone might be arguing against me for.
Hmm.
So if this story doesn't do it for whoever may be like, I don't really think I believe it. I had another friend, and it was a similar situation. He was dating this girl. Something happened. So I was friends with both of them,
Hmm.
and so he is the one that decides to go into the elders and confess what had happened between them.
Okay.
He got this fellowship, and she did not. So now we're looking at the math here. Okay, so we got 2 adults that are consenting adults, right? By the law, they're 2 consenting adults.
Okay.
Who engage in some, let's call it, the professional way. They engage in sexual intercourse with each other, right? So the one that confesses is the one that ends up getting this fellowship, and she was not this fellowship. Now, um, she was the daughter of an elder,
Okay.
and he was the son of a nobody.
Okay.
Was there some nepotism there? Very likely, very very likely. Um, but here's the thing. So here's where their trajectory ended. When he found out that that happened, that she did not get this fellowship, he was absolutely crushed. And the guy could not make it to his meetings all the time. He went down a spiral. Even after he was already disfellowshipped, I think he got into became an alcoholic and just could not get out of that rut. And mind you, he was a ministerial servant and a pioneer at the time. So he was. It's not like he was, you know, a nobody and it's just like up to no good or anything like that. He was held to a very, very high standard, very, utilized by the congregation. Everybody loved him. Made a mistake. The girl's father was able to smooth things out, but he gets this fellowship and she does not. So that crushed him. That hurt him so much.
Yeah.
And he ended up in the as time went on, he became what they love using the A word, apostate, because he just could not wrap his head around it.
Yeah.
She eventually went on to marry someone else, and now she's a heavy hitter in the Metropolitan Public Witnessing in Philadelphia, right? So this is where their trajectory is. So now I ask the question, is an apostate, does he become an apostate or did you make an apostate? Did you create your own problem? Did you create the very thing that you hate? And now when he leaves, it's like, oh my God, you suck, dude.
Yeah.
But wait a minute, like you did that. It was your decision. You guys called that decision. So I could see at a lot of issues there with the entire judicial system. That's where the cracks started for me. But of course, when you're, I was young at the time, ministerial servant. A lot of people would tell me, "Hey, Eli, you don't know the details. You don't know all the details. Jehovah will take care of it. If there's an injustice, don't worry about it. Just keep going. He left Jehovah. He didn't want to serve him, and all of that. Just keep going. Just trust in Jehovah, and because you don't know all the details."
Yeah, they love to say that.
Yeah. And in a nutshell, and I'll dive a little bit deeper as we go on, that became the ticking time bomb for me. Because now you can only hold me back for so long with the excuse of you don't know all the details. Because now when it comes time and I sit in an elder's room and I'm seeing all these guys face to face, now I know how the sauce is made. Yeah. And now you cannot really tell me I don't know the details because I know how it works.
Yeah.
So that became the ticking time bomb for me.
Okay. Nice. That gives us great insight. Because the active witnesses they try to psychoanalyze us and tell us why we act the way we act. And I'm like, no, you need to listen to what we're saying to you. That's a huge thing what you said, because if someone goes in and confesses, that kind of shows their heart.
Right.
They aren't saying they're going to repeat offend. They always say, we want to work with you and we're going to rehabilitate you spiritually. So, you expect them to get reproved.
Mm-hmm.
But for him to get this fellowship, and he's the one who went to confess, and for her, I've seen cases like that where one get reproved and one get disfellowship. Only when the one who get disfellowship was the one trying to lie and hide, the true intentions from the elders.
Right.
I've seen it that way, but I've never seen the way you just described. The one that confesses got disfellowship, and the other one, the elder's daughter, got on reproof. And like you said, to me, that sounds like an inside job.
Oh yeah, 100%.
He wanted to keep his reputation.
It's who you know. It's always about who you know.
You know what? I tell people that and videos I make, I say that, but it's a lot of politics that go on in that organization. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh yeah.
some brothers are appointed just because of like who they know. It's not their work ethic. You know, it's
100%.
yeah. Oh man. So you carry that with you as a ministerial servant.
Hmm.
How and you said you were early 20s when you got appointed elder.
So no, I was appointed an elder at the age of 28.
Okay.
So a couple of years later, maybe 4 or 5 years later.
You know how to I try to tell people how it works. You know, you get that call in the room, and they tell you what were you thinking when they were telling you, you recommended to be appointed an elder. Like, did you want to just dive in? Were you excited?
So okay, so here's the thing with that. I want to say that because of me having been so young as a servant and me having been a servant for so long,
Hmm.
that was what I was groomed to be
Yeah,
since I was very young.
yeah.
So there was a lot of whispers going on that I was going to be next, and so I knew, I had a very close relationship with the uh, the coordinator at that congregation. Um, I'd say he was. I still kind of see him as a father figure, um, and he's a really good guy. I
Hmm.
have a lot of good memories of him. But yeah, so I mean, he would always tell me, that I was on that path.
Hmm.
Keep it going. I think though that that's a double-edged sword because when people see you having been a servant, because I was a servant for a while
Hmm.
before I became an elder, I believe about 9 years.
Yeah, yeah.
So people were always whisper, why you're not an elder yet? Why you're not an elder yet? So there was always that kind of like um, bittersweet kind of thing because I was young, so I didn't really, I guess, care as much, especially early on.
Mm.
But as time went on, it's kind of like it becomes a thorn in the flesh, if I'm going to call it that. It becomes an issue because you got all these people whispering and talking about it and stuff like that, and now you feel less than because
Mhm.
you're not getting to that point. Um, and I remember feeling that way.
Mhm.
But I was for a while. I think for a couple of years, I was kind of like, "You're next up. You're next up. You're next up."
Yeah,
And
and people don't realize that So you're a no pressure, but you're my first ex elder,
mm,
and so I try to let people just give them a feel for what it's like being a brother in that
right,
organization. They and like as a people, that makes you feel bad when you hear people murmuring about that, like, "Oh, you should be elder by now." They don't understand like what all entails you
right,
becoming an elder. In the organized to do God's will book, the chapter about ministerial servants,
mm,
it's like 14 or 15 paragraphs. The very next chapter about overseers,
right,
it's like 65 paragraphs. Like it's a lot to become an elder.
yeah.
And so you're finally there. How, how long were you there before you realized, okay, something is wrong with this?
So you're talking about as an elder,
Yeah, as an elder.
Okay. So I want to say that probably about 8 months in,
Mm,
that is when the major cracks started to form.
wow.
And it all coincided as well with the new changes that they made, especially this fellowshipping.
Hmm.
Um, but I was seeing a lot of things that didn't really make a lot of sense.
Okay.
I don't know if you, because I remember every single one of them. I can probably uh, talk about them a little bit more if you want.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever
Um,
you're comfortable with. Yeah.
so first two things that I had to deal with. Um, I'm gonna start with this one because I think it's a not everybody gets the other side of that. So I remember when I was still a servant, I would talk to my mom and I would tell her, hey, something that convinces me that this is the truth is that you don't really hear a lot of scandals about CSA.
Hmm.
And I would always tell her, man, you don't really hear it. That's that religion or that other religion and the Catholics. It's like Pentecostals, whatever. That's their problem. I know that this is the truth because we don't do any of that. We have the best system to take care of all that. Once you become an elder, that illusion fades very quickly. One of the very first things that I had to deal with as an elder was so the coordinator is the one that sets up all of the meetings with the elders. And so he will send it to the elder group chat. He'll be, hey, we got to talk about this matter about so and so brother. And we got to talk, read a letter from the branch.
Hmm.
And we got to discuss some things about this matter. And so, they give you the agenda. This brother's going to do the first prayer, and this brother is going to talk about this, whatever. So that first meeting was about a situation with a brother. At the time, that's all I knew. So I show up. They uh, they have this letter that they pass around to all of the elders that goes into detail about this child molester that was in our congregation, and it goes into I don't want to say that it goes into extreme detail, but it does say that the person is a child molester, that he has very strong restrictions from the branch. Um, and we got to talk about a plan of how we're going to approach the situation. I think it was also letting the new elders know because I was new in the body. And so this guy was just like an everyday guy. In fact, I was very close with his kids. They were a little younger than I was, but I would always spend time with both of them,
Hmm.
and I would never have thought that that was happening. Now, that's all I knew at the time, but by the time that I stopped serving in that congregation and altogether, um, I found that the accusation against him was about three different minors. It wasn't just one. It was three, and I can attest to the fact that the authorities were not warned or not told that that had happened,
Yeah.
and I believe that if I remember correctly, I think it happened to one, and then he also remarried and molested, I believe, the children of his second or his partner at the time.
Oh,
Um, and he is also a person that I don't want to accuse him of anything,
yeah.
but the branch, the organization never, brought that to the authorities. And this guy was given, eventually, he was given sole custody of his two children. Now, I don't want to accuse him that anything happened there. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't want to know, frankly. But that's just not a person that you want to give custody to minors, even if it's his own kids.
Yeah.
That would have been avoided if they had actually called the authorities. But I can attest to that that was an issue that congregation had.
Wow.
Now, by the time that I left, because I want to just go by topic here, by the time that I left, I found out about another person that had gotten molested from someone that, in her congregation, previous congregation in Philadelphia. And I found out that another person was also molested when they were kids by an elder in the congregation. And it is even hard for me to say, but if I remember correctly, it might have been two elders that molested him. But don't quote me on it. It's kind of like hard for me to believe that one. I don't know if my memory just doesn't serve me right. But I found out, that first case that I told you about with three minors, and then when there was two other cases that I found out about after I had already woken up and I was trying to navigate my exit.
Mm-hmm.
So that comment that Eli, I made when I was ignorant about everything that in the organization, that is absolutely not true. And I think that was one of the things that they always like to point to. We're better than everybody else. No, you're not. You're just like everybody else. Me personally, look, fine. I respect religions. I respect people's right to choose if they want to remain Christian. That's up to you. I honestly, I can understand. I get it. I get it. I understand fully, completely. But my problem is with the organization acting like they're better than everybody else. Kick it back down a notch, because you're not better than anybody else. Now, if you want to say you're an alternative to Christianity and you're just like trying to figure it out as you go, all right, fine. But don't act like they're better than everybody else, and then hide all of these things for the general public, because that's not true. You're not being honest to people. And frankly, this is why I like to tell my story, because I want people to be able to make an educated decision about their future.
Yeah.
If you want to remain a witness, if you want to be there and you want to just be there for the rest of your life, great. I'm glad that works out for you. For me, it doesn't work out for me. But I want people to be able to have access to the information that I did so that they can make an educated decision about their future.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's why I do what I do.
Yeah.
So things weren't called about this individual. How was he treated in the congregation? Was he a servant or anything?
He was not. In fact, if to be fair, he had very, very strict he had very strict rules against him becoming a servant. He had a lot of restrictions in the congregation. However, the general public did not know about this. They did not. It was only a need to know basis, and by that I mean the elders are the only ones. So
that's why, and I asked you that because, if a person has that issue, they're not supposed to be put in any position where they're around kids alone.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I was asking that. Yeah. My father, he was like presiding overseer in Kobe for so many years, and just like watching how they moved, I knew like to be an issue with some why they weren't never appointed a servant or an elder. And so when it was a brother, you're out in the field service groups and people are like, man, brother so-and-so, he's been in the truth so long. He always comment good. He give good talks. You would think he's a servant by now. And I'm just looking at him like, yeah, it's probably a reason he's not.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But that's crazy to me, especially that one, which is something I'm very, very against. they're in the congregation. The general congregation does not know, and they are around kids still.
Mhm.
Like that pisses me off, you know. And then for them to like, what's the body's take on it when they're reading this letter from the branch saying who they're dealing with? What's the general reaction around the body? Like, are they looking surprised? Are they looking like I can't be a part of this, or like how are they?
I want to get into this a little bit later,
Oh, okay, okay, yeah,
but I will say this: I don't want to be offensive to them. My perspective, and you'll see as the story develops,
mm-hmm.
they have no spine.
Yeah,
That's my personal take
yeah,
on this, and that a little bit later down the line, I'll tell the needle that broke the camel's back, and that is what I realized. Most of these guys don't have a spine.
oh,
That's
and
just
you can
what it boils down to.
kind of get into it. Like, how long were you an elder before you started thinking
Yeah.
about an exit plan?
So it was about 8 months or so that between 8 months to a year. I can't remember the exact um,
Mm,
date or anything like that, but that is when the cracks started to form. Um, so for time's sake, I will say that I saw a lot of decisions being made rashly. I saw that the Bible was kind of put to the side, and the SFL, which is the Elders book, was above the Bible. You could have read a passage from Jesus saying, be merciful, but wait, what does the SFL say?
yeah,
SFL says you disfellowship him, kick him out, kick him to the curb. So I saw a lot of these kinds of things. I saw a lot of decisions being made when these guys had a witch hunt on someone, when they just had it out against somebody. The elder didn't like you. Trust me, that elder was not voting for you to become a servant. He was not voting for you to become an elder. If he had a bone to pick with you, trust me, you were going to get targeted. Uh, that I think was one of the major cracks for me because, long story short, there was a servant that was going to move to another congregation. And when somebody that has a responsibility is going to move, you're supposed to sit as a body and say if you're going to recommend him as a ministerial servant or an elder and whatnot. So I go into this meeting, ministerial servant. He's a pioneer. He's doing good. I'm like, all right, this is going to be a breeze. It's a Sunday. I'm like, probably going to go to the beach after this. And like, I'm not. It's just going to be a quick meeting. So I go to the meeting, and these three elders, which is really honestly, by now I can call them the Three Stooges because it was always the same three. And they were like the most radical, the most strict, the most like, ugh. Yeah, so they they just had it out against them. They were like, "Oh my god!" I don't like, and they were not really giving any concrete reasons why he could not get recommended. There was no like, "Oh well, the Watchtower says." No, there was no like, well, the SFL or the Bible says. There was none of that. It was like, well, I think he talks to these sisters a little too much. Like, all right, I can understand why even in your twisted little world they can be a cause for concern, but like we're talking about, are we recommending him or not? Like we're not talking about, hey, should we give him advice about XYZ? We're talking about recommending him as a servant or not, because this guy has only been a servant for a year and a half. And when we recommended him, you guys were all on board. Like you guys were all excited. Yes, like let's get him in there. And all of a sudden, like you guys, like yeah, like you don't like him anymore. So I could see that there was a lot of personal decisions being there. When they really wanted to take somebody out, these guys were absolute heartless bastards.
Oh yeah,
When they wanted to be, they would rip your heart out in a heartbeat.
yeah.
And I saw that. I saw all of that to cut the story shorter, the beards happened. That was a pretty big one for me because here I am at almost 30 years old. I'm just being given permission to grow my first beard. That kind of just didn't really sit well with me. Uh, and the needle that broke the camel's back was to change to this fellowshipping. And I have a very nice story there. I don't know if you want me to just go straight to that or.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
So, you guys, you remember I was mentioning about my two friends, right?
Yeah.
And now I had seen firsthand. I had an aunt who was this fellowship since I can remember, and I can tell you right now, 100%, those brothers and sisters in the congregation treated her like she was the dirt. She was dirt, 100% to them. They would refuse to be served by her when she was working at this one restaurant just because she was this fellowship. And these jerks just treated her like she's trash.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a lot of this fellowshipping being done that caused a lot of pain to a lot of people, including my friends. And so when that change kind of happened, that really broke my heart
Mm-hmm.
because now all of a sudden, after all of this damage is being done, all these people have been hurt by that policy. All of a sudden, for some odd reason, um, it's okay to say hello to them when they go to the hall. Now it takes a little bit longer uh, for them to be disfellowshipped. Now you can give them more of a chance before you finally make that decision. What about all these people who were disfellowshipped? What about the ones that were wrongly accused of something? Maybe if you would have taken a little bit more time to actually investigate things, maybe you would have found out more. And that's another thing. I saw elders rushing through judicial committees. Frankly, I was never part of a judicial committee because I wasn't an elder for that long.
Okay.
But I saw other elders have to deal with situations, and these guys were just rushing through it because they wanted to go home and eat a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
That is just how their mindset goes.
Mm-hmm.
But you cannot be playing and taking quickly, taking a little bit of time when you have somebody else's life in your hands. That is where my problem was. So here is where everything goes downhill. So I'm going through all of these thoughts in my head. I'm realizing all of these things. I'm seeing all of these different issues. And so what ends up happening is that once that update comes out, the elder body receives a letter from the branch that says that we all got to sit down and talk about the new changes to this fellowship. So I went into that elders meeting, and me being a very outspoken person, I was always saying something. I was just, I was always active. And I was like a zombie when I went there. Because in my head, I was already being conflicted about everything that I was seeing. And I remember one of the elders brought up something that really hit me. And so he said that there was a girl that decades ago was disfellowshipped because she smoked one cigarette, right? And that was her disfellowshipping offense. And she did not remember why she was disfellowshipped. And he's telling that story not out of, oh my God, that's so sad. More out of, well, the letter here says people that don't even remember why they got disfellowshipped. Oh yeah, I know an example, guys. This girl, when she was 15, she got this fellowship for smoking one cigarette, and I was just there, the youngest elder there, already with severe issues with the entire judicial system.
Yep.
I'm seeing, this changed kind of out of nowhere. And the best thing that you can tell me right now is that someone was disfellowship at 15 for the huge, humongous, horrendous crime of smoking one cigarette. Did she lose her family? Was she kicked out on the street? I don't know. It's a
Mhm.
possibility because all of those things happen. And whoever tells you they don't, you haven't lived enough.
Yeah.
Um, it happens. It
Wow.
happens. And that happened. And I looked, this is where it ties into earlier. I looked at the rest of the elders, and they just had, to me, they just had no soul. They
Yeah.
had no brain, they had no heart. All they were mindless drones
Mhm.
that were just taking whatever the organization said.
Yeah.
And that is when Elder Phoenix died. That
Yeah.
is when I was buried.
Okay.
Or the past version of me died that day. Because once, and I tell this to everybody, nobody is going to be convinced that this is all lies from the organization until you lose respect for the governing body. That is the key to everything. That is the key to everything. If you still see them as God's channel, if you still see them as, they speak for God, you will never wake up. You're never going to wake up. But
Mhm.
once that goes, once that breaks, once you're like, hey, the governing body's here, Jehovah's here, and I'm here, once that breaks, you see everything. Now all of a sudden it's like, man, we really do let people die in blood transfusions. Man, that doesn't make any sense. Why do we do that? Why do we not celebrate birthdays? Why is this wrong? Why is that wrong? Why do we not believe that? Why do we believe this? Why do I believe that the governing body was appointed in 1919? What, because they told me that they did? Like,
Yep.
why? And everything just crumbles quick once you lose faith in the governing body. That is the key. That is why they want to hammer down on people. We are God's channel. You need to trust in God's organization because that is the key.
Yep.
Unless you can break that, you will be there forever.
Mhm.
You will be there
Yep.
forever.
Great point.
Um,
Yeah.
that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's a great point because they even drill it in our heads. They've been drilling this in our heads for decades. Like we do what they say, even if it seems strange to us. Like we're supposed to trust them because they're working for Christ and God and all that crap. But yeah, that's a huge point that you bring up because I have to tell people that daily that I don't have an issue with the average Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah.
You know, for a large majority, most witnesses are great people and they just want a better life and they want to believe in a hope. So I have no beef with them. It's the governing body and their helpers and then the elders that knowingly go along and hide these predators and don't call the authorities when they need to. And
Mm-hmm.
like you said, if and I try to tell them that the active witnesses that pop up on my crap, I try to tell them I get it, I understand, because I was you, like you just said, you hear stuff, but you don't want to listen really, and you be like, oh, this organization is so great, it's so wonderful. We don't deal with things like Catholics do. But when you start really opening your mind and listening to what the governing body is teaching and things that they have missed, and then like when I walked away in December, I just kind of was on my own. I didn't really speak up until late May, early June, because
Mm-hmm.
someone showed me a letter from a branch to a body of elders, and
Mm-hmm.
it infuriated me because I was like, I gave over 50 years of my damn life to this organization, and I defended them. And this is what they were doing behind closed doors. So, like you, I saw a lot, and I'm glad. I am so glad that ex-elder was able to say it, because I tell people on my house what goes on, but I think they will understand it better from someone who is actually an elder.
Right.
Because I was a ministerial servant 3 different times, but it's like I never wanted to be an elder, especially the third time. The third time I was a servant, I just didn't want to, for the reasons you said. I felt like they were spineless. I thought they couldn't think on their own. And I'm like, quite frankly, I thought most of them were assholes.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like,
That
I
is
felt like if
what
I
they draw.
became an elder,
That is what they draw. I mean,
yeah,
really,
yeah,
at the end of the day, you got 3 type of elders: the ones that are genuine, and those I feel are the ones that end up leaving. You got the ones that love the power and they're straight up assholes,
yeah,
and then you got the ones that are spineless.
yeah,
And I could tell you which are which in the body that I serve, because there
yeah.
was these guys who would just go with the flow, whatever the others say. Oh yeah, I agree with that, and they'd agree with me, and then I agree with the other guy too. And I'm like, we're not talking about the same thing. Like, we're not. How can you agree with both?
When people open up their eyes and just think clearly, like, they'll see the cracks in it, but they have to be ready. Like, I don't try to make anyone leave. Like you said earlier, like, I have people telling me, they comment on one of my posts, I love Jehovah, I'm always going to serve them. And I'm like, that's great. Keep your conviction. I think they're expecting it's going to trigger me.
Right.
But
right.
it's not. Deep down, I'm feeling sorry for them. But it's
Right.
like, to the person who is it, because I've talked to these 2 elders and ministerial servants who are like, they're chemo, and they, for whatever reason, they have to be in an organization still, but they're suffering and they're miserable. What would you say to that person who's still in the organization?
Man, I want to say that it gets better. Look, it's still tough. I'm not gonna lie to anybody. It is tough to leave. There is many ways in which you can leave. There are some ways that are gonna cost you a little bit less headaches, but then cost you headaches in other ways. You just gotta kind of pick your poison. You can rip the Band-Aid off, NDA, or you can fade, or do some kind of combination of things there. But sadly, the reality of the situation is that you cannot leave without paying a price.
Yeah.
And it does get better at the end of the day. I want to say this, and that it kind of ties into something that kind of bothers me, because when I was waking up, I was already awake, but I was kind of like still deconstructing everything. They came out with this article that said the people who leave, apostates that are looking for prominence, more prominence, and that is why they leave. And I say to that, I was 28, I was a pioneer, I was an elder already. Why, if I wanted more prominence, why the heck would I leave? Why would I leave? And they always act like when you leave, it's all about, you're going to go to parties all the time and you're going to go get drunk. Look, like, why would I be getting drunk every night if I got to wake up the next day at 4 a.m. so I can go to the gym, and then I go to work, and then later I go to school? Yeah. That is my life. It's not like I'm out there just, the party life or anything like that. They always act like when you go out there, you're just going to be a wreck.
Yeah.
You're going to make whatever it is you got to make. And tying to that, I always kind of think of the prodigal son story, right? Because they love using that. Oh man, the prodigal son, he came back.
Yeah.
But what if the prodigal son instead of spending all his money on stuff that he shouldn't have spending his money on, what if he actually got his own business and opened up things? Would he have come back? Would the story have remained the same if he didn't do all of those bad things? Right? Because he reaped what he sowed, and that is why he came back. So, and I'm only saying this to mean that, like, yeah, just because you leave doesn't mean that you're the prodigal son and like everything is gonna go, you know, it's gonna go wrong for you.
Yep.
You make your own life.
Yeah.
You make your own choices. If you're going to, if you're gonna take your steps and not think everything through, and you're gonna make bad decisions in life, then yeah, you're gonna reap what you sowed. But like once you're free outside of the witnesses, you're free to make your own decisions. And it will be good for you if you put in the work for it to be good for you. You're free. You don't answer to the governing body anymore. If you want to be a Christian, great. If that works for you, amazing. I have a lot of respect for a lot of the people that choose to be Christian. I am still undecided on a lot of things. I'm still figuring out, for myself. I love a lot of the teachings of Jesus. I really, really do. But I'm still figuring that out. But like, I respect people who choose to be Christian. I get it. So what I'm trying to say with all this is your canvas, and you paint it as you see fit. This is your story. And so, whatever it is you got to do, if you put in the work, if you try, if you're going to reap what you sow. So
great points. Yeah, because it's rough and intimidating trying to think of your exit plan, and we all have our own reasons. Mine was basically obligation, and my parents are an age now. I just didn't want them to be hurt. So that weighed heavy on my mind. Just lost my sister last September, so I didn't want to drop that on them too soon.
Right.
About me. So I just kind of quietly left with you, because this is the $1 million question. How did you leave? Did you just walk away?
So I hard faded. I just moved to a different congregation, and I just said, "Hey, I'm not going to be serving anymore," and that was it. I just they tried to get a hold of me and stuff like that, but I would just say, "Hey, yeah, I'm fine," but I never gave my address to anybody. I never, they have my phone number, but that's about it. And again, to me, the witnesses are not my enemy. If somebody I see on the street that I know from the past says hi to me and they're nice to me, I'll be nice back.
Yeah.
If they're jerks to me, I'll be a jerk back.
Yeah.
But that's just like, I give back to them what they give to me. And like, if they want to hang out, I would love it if they wanted to hang out. But we're not going to talk about this topic. We can just go, to Six Flags, or, go to roller coasters, or go watch a movie. We don't have to talk about this. But I know that the vast majority of them are not going to want to do that.
No.
I don't have anything against them.
No. And most of us don't. There's some that just have these particular grudges, and they have specific reasons why they do.
Right.
But yeah, the majority of us, we just want to live our lives. And
exactly.
Like you, I asked that question because active witnesses, they always have this narrative. Somebody popped up on one of my videos, and I literally said the whole story and how I became a ministerial servant the third time. On this video, somebody popped up and said, "You got this fellowship. That's why you're acting like this. Just accept your punishment and move on." And I verbally let them have it, because I'm literally in my video saying I was appointed, and I stepped down. Like I stepped down. I didn't want to be deleted, because in my head I felt like if I would have been deleted, it's like they won.
Yeah.
So I went out on my own terms. It took me 3 times to tell them I wanted to step down. The third time I was very adamant, and I'm like, "Yo, contact the CO, do what you need to do, but I'm done." And they finally announced it that I stepped down. I wanted it to be done that way, because in my head I felt like it was on my terms, and then I just faded.
Mhm.
But yeah, I wanted you to say how you left because a lot of active witnesses, that's what they assume that we got disciplined, so now we're pouting and
Yeah.
we turned apostate, and it's like they can't right now. Their mindset they want that we consciously decided to add enough. And,
Yeah.
what we saw, they just can't fathom it. Like not yet, not where their mind is at now. That's why I wanted you to just say it because I know they'll be watching this, especially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so so
So I wanted them to know.
so what I do, I would want to answer that though. Like what I say to that is whoever might be saying that, that you, hey, you left because you're young and you wanted to go sin and stuff like that. The reason that happens is because they already have that belief. They already know that, in their mind, this is the truth. So they're going to throw out whatever excuse they got to throw out just to make you look like the villain because they already decided that this is what they want. They want to be a witness. And so everybody who's not a witness is the enemy. And if you don't choose what I chose, then, well, you did it because, you like, I don't know, like they got to throw out
Yeah,
whatever out there to make you fit their reality.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so, but the truth of the matter is, no matter what you say, no matter what comments you make, what you think about me, the truth of the matter is that yes, I did leave. I chose to leave, and I wanted to leave. And if I could go back in time, I would still leave. There's nothing that they can do to change that. It happened. It's part of history, and deal with it.
Oh, I love it, man. It's- at the end of the day, I feel bad for them because they're just, I was all in like they were.
Yeah,
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 I feel bad, and that's why I try to, for the most part, I try to be nice
yeah.
because, like, I know they're just confused and they think they're doing what they think is right, but I've won a couple over. Not that they've left, but they listen to me and they watch
Mhm,
my stuff because I was nice. And I
mhm,
think it's shocking. They, the government body, they tell you like we're under demonic influence and Satan is like has a control over our mind and we're mentally unstable. And I think it shocked them that I was nice to them. I told them I'm glad they're still in the religion, and they didn't really know what to say, but they still listen to the and watch videos. But I feel bad for them, especially for like my parents. They're in their 80s, and people their age, this is what they hoped for since the 60s. You
yeah,
know?
yeah. That's sunk cost fallacy right there.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, that one that you mentioned, the demons got you and stuff like that.
yeah,
That one just like I don't understand it. Though if I was in their shoes, I'd probably be thinking the same thing. But it's like I don't know, like they kind of think you're just like walking around roaming accidentally, and Satan comes out of nowhere, jumps at you, and all of a sudden you think differently. Like no, like you got to start kind of thinking a little bit that maybe you do create your own enemies.
yeah.
Have you thought about that? Maybe it is you.
Mhm.
Maybe it's not me. Maybe your policies are not the best.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's but it is what it is. So
yeah. And I tell everybody, I actually drink less being an ex-Jehovah's Witness than I did when I was like a damn ministerial servant.
oh yeah,
I was polishing off. I'm not even playing with you. I was polishing off like 2 or 3 bottles a week
yeah,
when I was
yeah,
in. Now
yeah,
I barely do. I'm like drink some light beer. That's like water to me, you know. But
yeah,
like, and the weird thing is, I used to, and my wife, I would tell her, "Oh, I'm afraid to lead a religion because if I do, I'm just gonna go crazy. Like I won't have a religion to keep me reined in." And that's so false. Like
yeah,
we're all out here just like living our lives. And
exactly.
you said we're not out here trying to like party and That's just more scare tactics that they use
Mhm.
to keep people under mind control. But
Mhm.
yeah, I'm so glad that we got to talk and you got to say all of this, because it's like I want people to hear it from different individuals
Right.
that were in different positions throughout the organization.
Mhm.
Like I said, you're the first ex-elder that I've had on here to interview. Very,
It's a
very
pleasure, man.
informative. Uh,
It's a pleasure to be your
oh,
first set.
yeah, it was very informative because it gave us a inside look into those meetings, especially when you said that you all were sharing a letter that the branch had sent you about an individual. Like that's what we
Mhm.
all talk about. It's like
Yeah.
these are documented cases. They're real court cases, lawsuits that are real that they're losing, and that's my biggest reason. It's just to bring light to that.
Yeah.
And if that don't get you, I don't know what will. If you know it's a child endangered in the congregation where the person they're accusing is still in the congregation and mingling and being treated as normal, like something is very wrong with it.
Yes.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
that's a good point because I want to say that the I believe it was Let who said that people accuse us, that the organization is permissive and they protect pedophiles. I think that is not the correct terminology there. The organization does not protect pedophiles. The organization protects themselves. They protect their reputation.
Yeah.
And in turn, because they want to protect their reputation, they end up protecting the pedophiles.
Yeah.
That is it's a more accurate description of what happens. It's not about protecting the pedophile. It's because they know that once you open up that can of worms, you're just like everybody else, and it just ruins their whole like, yo, we're so great. No, you're
Oh,
not. You're just like everybody else.
that's a good point. They do want to protect their whole image,
Exactly.
even though they're snakes. I almost got to ask you: is there a database at headquarters with all the offenders' names on it?
So not that I have access to, no. In the U.S. or at a state level or anything like that,
Mm.
no. However, um, if I were to plan it well, and I send police to the Kingdom Hall, they would find incriminating evidence
Yeah,
of cases.
yeah.
I would say that.
It's the little grubby hand secretary. He always carrying something.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
No. Oh, 100%. Yes.
yeah,
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
And
I used to pick on the secretary so much because they always answer. They answer because they got all that crap with them. But I used to touch his little elder book, and he would freak out, closing his briefcase.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
they could easily be incriminated.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. And yeah, I mean, I have stories about that, but
You know,
uh,
you will, if you're up to it, I would definitely like to have you on again so that we can dive into more to those stories. Because if people just they hear me, but I think most of the things I'm telling them, they're kind of in disbelief.
right.
Like they're not doubting me, but they're just like, I'm blowing their mind. I only tell them a little bit at a time, because when I first started this, I made 5 videos like, this is why I'm making this decision. This is how long I've been in that religion, because I
Mhm.
don't want people coming at me like I just made this decision overnight. But that's one of the things I say. I've seen things, I know things. Elders trusted me for some reason, and they used to always
Mhm.
run their mouth. Like the conversations you said when they would be like, "This brother won't never be appointed as servant," things like that. We would be in a car group. I'd be the only ministerial servant, and I'm a car group full of elders, and they're talking like that. So it's like
Right.
things I know and I've heard, but
Yes.
I only say it a little at a time, because if I just drop everything on people who listen to me, I think like their heads would spin. But I
Right.
think I want you to be on another episode in the very near future so that they can hear it from someone other than me.
Sure. Yeah, I'll be
Yeah,
happy to do
'cause
it.
I think this will be very eye opening for the person that's doubting or the person that's not feeling the best about the governing body. I
Hmm.
think it'll be eye opening for them to just hear somebody talking that's not like being a fanatic, that's
Right.
not holding a grudge, but just giving you great facts.
Mhm.
I think it'll be great for you to be on again. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Happy to
I
do it.
really, really enjoyed this, man. It's like this was eye opening for me too. Like I told you before I hit record, I'm finding out stuff when my audience finds it out when I'm asking. Like it's not
Right.
scripted. So this was very eye opening. I applaud you though for like having the courage. Like you brought out, it's not easy to walk away. However we choose our exit plan, it's not easy. Like
Yeah.
we know it's hard. And yeah, any last words of advice before I sign out?
I want to say that look, it gets better. It,
Yeah,
it, it does get better. I agree with you with everything that you said. That you know, you mentioned drinking as an example. I feel the same way. I drink a lot less.
yeah.
I frankly feel happier
Mhm.
outside of it. I do. I'm still the same person. I still treat people with kindness. I still
Mhm.
treat people with respect. Um, if you invite me to a Bible trivia, I'd still remember most of the stuff that I learned. Like, I'm still the same person. It
Yeah,
is just, in summary, I just following the governing body as God's channel. It's just not for me.
no,
I and who knows where it's gonna lead me, but that's just it. That, and I have a right to choose what I want to do with my life. So, but to those that are on the fence about things, it gets better. It will get worse before it gets better, but it does get better. Um, and you can make out of your life whatever you want it to be. So,
yeah, man. I appreciate you so much. Yeah, I'm
thank
actually,
you for having
man.
me.
I'm always thinking. So now I got to run something off here. Later on. I'll run it by you and Jerron. But I'm thinking,
All right, all right.
like, they need something real and authentic. Well, yeah, I'll be letting you all know what I'm thinking about.
I'll be here. I'll be here.
Oh my goodness! I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Like I told you, I'm like being very serious. I want Phoenix to come back so that we can dive a little bit deeper into his life as an elder. I think that's very important for you all to see how that organization operates. So, and you all know me. I like doing things with truth and transparency, and that's how I think we can help people wake up. But he made very great points, about exit plans, about your life being happy. Um, like we're not taught to love ourselves and to think for ourselves in that cult. We're taught to serve everyone else, but forget about ourselves. But Phoenix was 100% right. Like we have the right to create the life that we want, however we want. And in that code, you just don't think like that. I've been out since December, and I'm still working on this. That oh yeah,
Mhm.
I don't have to ask anybody. So yeah, man, I really really appreciate you being on here and shedding some light on that subject with us. And yeah, you'll be on again, and I'm gonna be texting you and Jerron.
Cool. Sounds
But
good to me. Man. Thank you for having me, man.
oh, you're very welcome. I appreciate all of you all. Continue to do great things, and we will talk to you soon.